Hey, to begin, this is going to be my second and possibly last video today. So in this video, I want to talk about the difference between a power animal, a totem animal, and a familiar. So, I'll start off with familiars. Familiars are not imaginary. They are, well, none of them are really imaginary, but familiars have a physical body. They exist. You can see them, you can touch them, you can play with them. They are real. While on the other two, on the other hand, may be real, but most of the time they aren't. Not that they don't exist in the real world, but they aren't an active part of your life. So, familiars to me are physical animals that you see on a regular basis and that will often come up to you. Some, depending on the animal, may not, like if they're a timid animal, like a rabbit or a squirrel or some types of birds, they may not come up to you, but they are always there. They watch you. Especially during ritual, a familiar tends to come and be as close to you as possible. Like I said, if it's a skittish animal, as close to you as it wants. It may really want to be in there with you, but its inside fears of being so close to a person stops it. Lots of witches claim that their familiar is a cat. And that may be true for some of them, but some of the people that claim the familiar to be a cat, it really isn't. It's just the fact that cats are very spiritual animals to begin with. So, cats have no problem coming into rituals and being with the energies because they're used to experiencing those types of things. While other animals, sometimes the energy of ritual and spells and magic just freaks out their systems and they don't know what to do. But on to power animals and totem animals. Totem animals are more of a Native American thing, and also kind of a Native, like, Alaskan. I don't know if they're a Native American, really, but it's a native thing. And it came from, like, the clans that they were, split up into within their societies. But nowadays it has been kind of transferred into the same meaning as power animal, which is most of the time metaphysical animal. They normally do exist, and with the exceptions of things like dragons, and I know some people will argue with me and say dragons do exist. And they might. I've just never seen one. Unicorns, again, never seen one, but I guess they could. Mermaids, they could exist. Some people use those as their power animals or power creatures, I guess, because none of those are really animals. With the exception of maybe the unicorn, kind of an animal. So these animals, they may visit you in your meditations. They may lend their energy to your spells and rituals, and they may lend their energy into your lives, and the energy that they give off and the energy that they represent. But they may or may not, some cases they do, become a physical familiar. There's a big difference, and I know there are people out there who will argue with me and say that there's no difference. Your familiar is your power animal, and that's not always the case. Like, I have a cat, and I don't consider him my familiar. He does sometimes sit in on my rituals, but most of the time he'd prefer to be anywhere else but there. He's a very, very person-like cat. He is spoiled to death. He eats in my room because he won't eat anywhere else, and even then he'll only eat like one type of cat food. He sleeps in my bed with me. He talks, well, not like in human voice, but if you talk to him, he'll meow back at you with like some sort of response. He's a very active cat. He's also very jealous. I'm his mother, and he doesn't like it when any other cat's in the room, because I'm his and no one else's. Right now, he's out there probably using the litter box or watching TV, because he tends to do that too. So, cat, other people would automatically assume if he acted like that to them that he was a familiar, but I don't, because of the fact that he doesn't really like to be in my rituals, and I don't feel that connection. Yes, I love him, but I love him as a pet. Familiar is not a pet. There's a big difference between a familiar and a pet. If you consider your cat or your dog that you think is your familiar a pet at the same time, then they're not your familiar, and they never will be, unless you stop seeing them as a pet. So, I don't have much else to say, except that finding your totem animal, power animal, can be an interesting experience. I do mine through meditation. I haven't found one yet, but that's because it's a very long, often tiresome and exhausting and just lengthy, crazy process, but it's also worth it. Some people, it takes years. With me, it's taken about 2 months so far, and I still have nothing. But I'm trying, and that's what matters. So, that's all. Leave responses if you'd like, comments, video responses, your views. I love to hear them. So, much love and blessed be. Mwah.